Welcome to the introduction to Key Action 3 Youth, Support for Policy Reform. The aim of this video is to give you guidance on making an application for funding and of the kind of activities available under Youth Key Action 3. Hopefully after this you'll be ready to make an application and seek further support, and we'll run through some basic guidance over the next 10 minutes or so, which will get you set up and prepared to start making those applications. Before we do that though, a very quick reminder about what the Erasmus Plus program is and how it works. So Erasmus Plus is the EU programme for education, training, youth and sport, and it provides funded opportunities for UK participants to study, work, volunteer, teach and train abroad. In the UK, it is delivered by the UK National Agency, which is a partnership between British Council and Chorus UK. And our role is to manage and deliver decentralised projects of the Erasmus Plus programme. And in this next slide, I'll show you a little bit about how that division of labour works. First of all, looking at the British Council, we are responsible for projects in the higher education and school sector, along with Key Actions 2 Youth and Key Actions 3 Youth, which is what we'll be talking about in this video. At Chorus UK, then, our partners are focused on vocational education and training, adult education, and Key Action 1 Youth. If you are unsure of which national agency or which half of the national agency you should be working with, don't worry. If you contact either of us and you need to be speaking to the other, we will put you in touch. But this is a useful place to start in terms of where to access support after today. So this video, as I've said, is talking about Key Action 3, which is projects focused around structured dialogue, meeting between young people and decision makers in the field of youth. The overall aim of structured dialogue projects is to promote the active participation of young people in democratic life and foster debate around topics relevant to structured dialogue or the EU youth strategy. Looking at that in further detail, basically it is a process of enabling young people to be involved in the shaping of policies that affect them through continuous cooperation among youth representatives and decision makers. So it's about the interaction between young people and people who have the capacity and influence to change policy in a direction that the young people are interested in it changing. And it's about bringing together the young people and those decision makers through structured dialogue. So what can these structured dialogue meetings be? Well, they can be meetings in the traditional sense, or conferences, consultations, and or events. The idea and the purpose of the programme is to promote young people and the chance for them to have their voices heard through the formulation of positions, proposals and recommendations on how youth policies should be shaped and implemented in Europe. And it is also about promoting the active participation of young people in democratic life, encouraging them to take part in discussions which have impact on how people who are supposed to represent them, and give them the chance to have their voices heard on a wider stage, on a larger stage. So how are the projects and meetings structured? Well, it has three phases, essentially. There is a planning and preparation stage. Then there is the implementation of the activities of the project. So the planning and preparation obviously comes first, which is the considering what you want to do and how it's going to work, and setting up the kind of background work required to bring young people and decision makers together. The activities themselves then, whether they be meetings or conferences or consultations, those are the activities that need to be implemented. And then finally, the evaluation work comes after, including reflection on what came out of those discussions and any follow-up work. So is further conversation required? Is further action required? Can the outcome of those discussions be shared more broadly, etc.? There are multiple kinds of activities supported within this project type. I won't list all of them. Here are a selection, but it is worth referring to and being aware of the Erasmus Plus Programme Guide 2019, within which all the guidance for making an application and all the eligibility and quality criteria, which I'll refer to later on, all of that is contained within the programme guide. But for example, some of the activities you can include are national meetings and transnational or international seminars as a forum for debate and active participation of young people in dialogue with youth decision makers, national meetings and transnational seminars that prepare for official EU youth conferences, events that promote debates and information on youth policy themes linked to activities organised during European Youth Week, consultations of young people, and that can include online consultations and opinion polls, meetings and seminars, information events or debates, and events which simulate the functioning of democratic institutions and the roles of decision makers. So that is a sample of some of the activities you can include within a project such as this, but a more extensive list, as I've said, can be found in the programme guide. So please keep that in your planning when you start putting your application together, and make sure you refer to the programme guide on a regular basis. It is very important to note, and this is key to the success of these projects, both in terms of how they work and whether or not they're funded, that the young participants are actively involved at all stages of the project, from preparation to follow-up. That is to say, it is their project, it is their interest which is being represented through the project, and it is their methodology for carrying out the project which is being displayed in the project application. The purpose of this whole key action is to give young people a voice, so it then naturally follows on that voice should be heard, not just in terms of the conversations when they happen, but also in terms of how the projects themselves are planned. That should be clear in your application. It is also essential that non-formal learning principles and practices should be reflected throughout the project implementation. So these projects should not be an extension of formal curriculum work carried out in a school or any other kind of formal learning environment, but they should be done through a non-formal learning prism of and focus of working. As I've said in the first point, activities should be led by the young people themselves. And it is worth noting two kinds of ineligible activity, which are statutory meetings of organisations or networks and politically influenced events. Both of these are not eligible under this kind of funding. In terms of the kind of organisations which can apply, these organisations can either be a not-for-profit organisation, association or NGO, a European youth NGO, or a public body at a local or regional level. The best advice to give here is that if you're unsure of your organisational status or its eligibility to apply for funding, please make sure you contact us at the national agency and we'll be able to guide you further. Contact details for us will be provided in the very last slide of the video, so please stay tuned for that. In terms of where participating organisations can come from, well, they must be established in a programme country or in a partner country neighbouring the EU. So these are regions 1 to 4, and a full list of the eligible participating countries can be found on pages 22 and 23 of the programme guide. So make sure you refer to that. If they are coming from one of the partner country in those neighbouring regions 1 to 4, they would not be eligible to take part as the project lead, i.e. not the applicant, but they are eligible to take part as partners. But the lead organisation must come from a programme country. As it says on the next slide, any participating organisation should be established in a programme country. For projects with 2 or more participating organisations, that is to say multiple organisations working within a project, one of the organisations applies on behalf of all participating organisations involved in the project. So in simple terms, if there are 2 partners, you'll need to submit one application, establish who the lead partner will be, and make sure they submit the project on behalf of both participating organisations. You don't need to submit separate applications for each submitting partner. There is a comprehensive list of eligibility criteria on page 197 of the programme guide, but here are some examples of things you need to be aware of which can frequently catch people out if they haven't thought about them in advance. The first of which is that transnational international meetings must involve at least 2 participating organisations from at least 2 different countries. Secondly, that national meetings, which is say meetings taking place within a single country for a single participating organisation, must contain at least 1 organisation from a programme country. So if you're bringing people together in one country without international partners, one of the people involved in that should be from the programme country. In terms of the participants themselves, as well as the decision makers, those that you'll be hoping to influence through your structured dialogues, the young participants must be aged between 13 and 30. There must be a minimum of 30 young participants involved in the project, and the project duration, which is the time from when you begin your planning activity to when the project closes, can be anything from 3 to 24 months, and you would pick the number of months as appropriate to the size and scale of your project. In the youth sector, there are 3 rounds of funding deadlines per year, 3 application deadlines which you need to be aware of. The first of which is the 5th of February 2019, the second is on the 30th of April, and the third is on the 1st of October. All application deadlines are 11 AM UK time. We strongly recommend that you don't hold off submitting your application until deadline day, because if for any reason you're held up or there's a technical problem or something which prevents you from submitting your application on time, we are unable to accept late applications. So we are strongly advising that you submit your application several days in advance of the deadline to make sure you don't find yourself falling afoul of that particular problem. Please make sure that you're fully prepared for the application deadlines. Remember that submitting the application on its own is not the end of the process. It will then be assessed against quality criteria, which is what we'll come to next. So, when we assess applications at the National Agency, we do so through a panel of experts, and our experts assess against three quality criteria as follows: the relevance of the projects, which is worth 30 points, the quality of the project design and implementation, which is worth 40 points, and finally, impact and dissemination activity, which is worth 30 points. So the total score any application can receive is 100 points. To be considered for funding, an application first must score at least 60 points, and also in addition to that must score at least half of the maximum points in each of the three award criteria. So for example, in relevance of the project, you would need to score 16 or higher for your application to be considered for funding, and that would be true of quality of project design and implementation and impact and dissemination as well. In all three criteria, you have to score at least half points and then get an overall score which is higher than 60 before an application can be considered for funding. In terms of the funding available, it's determined by the size and scale of your project, but there are four basic budget criteria for which you can apply. The first is travel, which is a unit cost, which is to say it's a fixed rate determined by the distance each participant travels from the point of origin to the venue of the activity. The second kind of cost is organisational support, which is again a unit cost directly linked to the preparation, implementation and follow-up of project activities, and this is determined by the number of participants. The special needs support cost is then an actual cost, which is to say it's determined by what you tell us you need in your application. You would need to justify these costs, but they can be anything related to participants with disabilities and accompanying persons for those participants. Those costs, as it says there, would be actual costs. We need you to give your best estimation of what those costs would be, but they should be there to encourage full participation in the project. And as long as they are fully justified, then you would receive 100% of those costs in your final project budget allocation. Where exceptional costs are concerned, these are costs essential to the successful delivery of the project that can be fully justified, that don't fall under any of the above categories, so not under travel, organisational support or special needs support. Where these costs are concerned, the amount we'd be able to reimburse you within your budget would vary between 75 and 100% of the actual cost. The best advice to give here is to consult the application guidance in the programme guide on page 200 for full details of the kind of budgets you can apply for and further details into how those budgets work. Finally then, let's have a look at how you prepare to apply for funding. The first thing you'll need to do, if you haven't already done so, is register on the participant portal via EU logging to obtain your organisation's PIC, Participant Identification Code. We provide guidance for applicants as you prepare your application. There's also information on our website about how you apply for a PIC or a PIC, and you can always contact our help desk to do this. But you will need a PIC code for your organisation, which is like a registration number, before you can put in any applications for funding. So if you haven't done that, please make that your next activity after watching this video. If you are getting a PIC, a PIC for the first time, you will need to upload your legal and financial identification forms. But if you have a PIC already, but you haven't updated your activity and if you haven't updated your information for 2019, you will need to do that nonetheless. So please make sure you do that. If you're a returning applicant, make sure you upload your legal and financial identification forms for 2019, as these documents are used to verify your organisation. Some important things to remember before you go ahead and make your application. There's a lot of resources and support available to you when making your application, so please make the most of it. The first of all is the form itself. Built into it is a lot of quality checks and verification checks which prevent you making errors as you put information into it. So please make sure you follow the instructions inbuilt into the application form as you're working on it. Make sure you validate your form as you go through, and make sure that if you have any queries, you contact us as you're going along in plenty of time ahead of the deadline. We also produce guide for applicants, which will be available on our website. And as it says in that final bullet point there, you can register for one-to-one support calls if you need support with your applications, and details of how to do that are on a website, the link to which is on the final slide. And you can also call or email us. And again, those details are coming up in just a moment. If you want to stay ahead of what's going on in the program, then definitely make sure you link to our social media channels through Twitter, Facebook, and where you are now on YouTube, as our most current information is put out through those channels, along with our website, which is the link at the very top there. On the website, you'll be able to find all the information you need about making an application, everything I've talked about here, including the resources, the program guide, the links to register for a one-to-one call. Everything you need basically is through the website. So make sure you get onto that, find the pages you need, perhaps bookmark them so they're easier to find as you return to the pages over time. But really do make sure you make yourself very familiar with the website and the resources on there. And finally, you might want also to sign up to our newsletter, because that is the channel through which we promote direct to email any information about changes in the program and any regular updates that might be handy for you. So please make sure you consult that as regularly as you can. Finally then, just a reminder that we are here to help you, and we do want to give you every opportunity to do your best when making an application. So please make use of the support of the national agency team. So for this particular key action, Youth Key Action 3 Policy Dialogue, please make sure you contact us at the British Council on the telephone number there and via the 2 email addresses listed on the slide. If you have any questions, we'd love to hear from you. All that remains for me to say is thank you very much for your attention. We wish you the very best of luck with your application, and we hope to hear from you very soon. Thank you.